Vijaya, there are multiple connections. Remove one connection. Remove one of the connection, Vijaya. Now, look at the concept. How to define method overloading or constructor overloading and execute it. Let me go with this product info. I was giving here public string product name, public string. There are two variables in the class, product name and quantity. Now, my requirement is, if you are not specifying any product name, I will take my own default values. If you are not specifying any product name, I will take my own default values. If you are specifying the product name, product info string, then I was giving product name equal to name, whatever the name you are mentioning, quantity equal to. In case if you are giving quantity equal to quant. If you are giving both of them, now if you are giving both of them, integer. I told you clearly, boss, constructor overloading means defining more than one constructor in the same class. Constructor 1, constructor 2, constructor 3, 4, 5. I have defined 5 different constructors. Defining more than one constructor in the same class with a different number of parameters, different order of parameters, different type of parameters, then we call it as method overloading or constructor overloading. If we define more than one constructor in the same class with a different number of parameters, 0 parameter, 1 parameter. Defining more than one constructor in the same class with a different number of parameters or different type of parameter. Number of parameters 1, number of parameter 1, but type of parameter is string, integer. Number of parameters are 2, type of parameters are integer and string, but the order is string followed by integer, integer followed by string. Then what we are going to call as constructor overloading. How do you execute this? Product info p equal to Now I was giving here system.debug. Now, what is the constructor I invoked? I invoked a constructor with 0 parameters. I invoked a constructor with 0 parameters. If it is 0, then this is called product name is admin, quantity is XU. I can only call one constructor. So then I got here product name as admin and quantity equal to 50. Product name is admin, quantity is 50. Then same example I am executing again. Here I was giving. So I was calling product. I was calling product. I was calling a product info with the product name as a parameter. One parameter I am passing. Constructor with one parameter whose type is string. Constructor with one parameter whose type is string. Constructor with one parameter whose type is string is called. Constructor with one parameter whose type is string is called. Execute. We received here iPhone 50. So at the time of creating an object, whatever the parameter we are passing depends upon the number of parameters, type of parameters, order of parameters is going to invoke corresponding constructor. So while we are calling only one. But while defining, we have defined many. So as per your business requirement, whichever you are going to pass, as per your business requirement, whichever you are going to pass, we have taken them. As per your business requirement, whichever you have passed, we have taken them. Right. I hope you are good with this. Okay. Now, while defining, we have defined many. But while invoking, we have invoked only one. While defining, we have defined many. While invoking, we have invoked only one. Am I clear with this? What was this called? Constructor overloading. We call this as constructor overloading. I hope you are good with this. Clear for everyone? Right, boss? So at the time of creating an object, right, whatever the parameters we have passed, based on the parameters, the corresponding constructor is going to be invoked. I hope you are good with this. Clear for everyone? Okay. Now, if you remember well, if you look at this, I was always giving a different name here. Right. Why I was always giving? You know that you are entering a name which has to be stored to product name. Why don't you give a same? Why are you giving a different name? Now, let us look at this issue. Now, we are going to discuss about a concept called this. There is a concept called this. Right. Till here, anybody has any query? Everyone is comfortable with these topics, what we have done till now? Clear, right? Okay. Now, let us understand the concept of this. What is the purpose of this keyword and what is how we are going to use it? Now, let us take a quick example here. Now, let us take an example. Now, there is a fight between two people. Right? Now, in Amirpet, there is a fight between two people. One guy is coming from Warangal, the other guy is from Amirpet. He is a local of Amirpet. If they fight, who will win? Amirpet, because the localities will come and support him. Right? So here, what is happening? Now there is a conflict between local and non-local. Local will dominate. Am I right or no? The same concept in the programming also. When there is a fight between a local variable and a global variable, now local variable will dominate. When there is a fight between local and a global variable, the local will dominate. But now, let us take an example. There is a fight between a guy from Warangal and from Amirpet. That Warangal guy is a son of some MLA. Now tell me who will win. Now, he has some external influence. Here also, when there is a conflict between local variable and global variable, local will dominate. We don't want the local to dominate. We require some external influence. What is that external influence? This keyword. When we use a keyword called this, that local influence will be removed. Are you getting my point? Now, what is that? Local and non-local, local and global. Local variable, global variable, there is a conflict. When the conflict will come, both of them are trying to use same. Both of them are trying to use the same. Both of them have the same name, there is a conflict. Am I right or not? Am I right? Okay. Now in the classroom, I want to call who is Ravi. Now particular Ravi will be called here. In entire capital info student database, I want to check Ravi. Then what happened? Still, the classroom Ravi only will come. Am I right? I want to call a Ravi. I am not interested to call the Ravi from the classroom. I want to call the Ravi from, let us say, 320 batch. But when I say Ravi, from 319 batch only somebody will respond. Are you getting my point? First, always local. If it is not available in the local, I will go out. Always the concept of the programming is what? Check in the local. If there is no local resource, then go to the global. When there is a local resource, you are supposed to use local only. Trying to get my context? Trying to get a context? If there is a conflict between local and global, first always we try for local. If the variable is not there in the local, then only I will go out. I hope you got my point. Let us take an example here. Let me give. First of all, what is the drawback we have? We give the same name. For constructor, what are the local variables we have? Any variable we are passing as a parameter, they are local to that particular method. Any variable we are passing as a parameter, any variable we are passing as a parameter, that is a local to that particular method. So in this method, what are the local variables we had? String name, integer age. The moment I say string age, separate variable is created. This variable is different, this variable is different. I told. What is your intention? The value of this name you want to store to this name. I gave name equal to. Imp name, integer age, name equal to imp name. Age equal to this dot experience equal to this is the program. Okay. Now let me write the execution for this. My execution for this example. This. They are expecting a constructor with the 3 parameters. I give 3 parameters. Then what is the order of execution? First, what is this? New. New means memory is allocated. For whom the memory is allocated? Name null, age null, experience. Memory is allocated. Once the memory is allocated, what we are calling? Constructor. Constructor is called new. New will allocate the memory. After the new, what is the function we had? Constructor. So when you are calling a constructor, constructor. What are the local variables we had? Example, EMP name. What are the other variables we have? Age. What is the value of EMP name? Because you call a constructor with EMP name as Satish and you give age as 30, experience as 3. This is the data you passed. Whatever the data you passed, the data will be stored to this. Am I right? EMP name is Satish, age is 30, experience is 3. Then what is the logic you are writing? Name, age, experience. You give name equal to, age equal to, experience. Now, EMP name. This is how we got it. Name, age, experience. This is the logic what was supposed to execute. Once the memory is allocated, new is allocating the memory, then you call a constructor. Constructor is supposed to do this. In the constructor, EMP name is Satish, age is 30, experience. When I told string EMP name, variable is created. Integer age, one more variable is created. Decimal experience, one more variable is created. These variables are called as what? What are these variables? What are these variables? These variables are called local variables. Those variables are called as local variables. Those variables are called as local variables. Those variables are called as local variables. Now, I told EMP name. When you are looking for EMP name, what is the first thing that I have to do? Go to the local memory and check. Do you have any variable called EMP name? Yes. The value of EMP name is Satish. Satish should be assigned to name. Do you have any local variable called name? There is no local variable called name. If there is no local variable called name, who called you? Who called you? This object called me. So go to that object. Do you have any variable called name? Yes. So name equal to Satish. Right. The next age. What is the value of age? Do you have any local value? Yes. Should be assigned to age. Do you have any local variable called age? Yes. So this 30 is assigned to this age. Are you getting? Am I going out? Am I going out? No. When I have a age, I am not going to object. I am adjusting there itself. Then, what is the value of age? Experience. What is the value of experience? Now when I say experience, do you have any local variable called experience? Yes. Then I told this dot experience. Don't look at the local experience. Go to the object and see, is there any variable called experience? When I say experience, looking at the local. When I say this dot experience, looking at the object. Go to the object and check, are there any variables with a name called experience? Yes, in the object there is a variable called experience. So experience equal to 2. Experience will refer to local. This dot experience will refer to object. Now tell me what is the value of E dot name? Satish. E dot age. E dot experience. Are you getting my point? Why that age is not transferred? When the local variable and the class variable both have the same name, variable defined in the class, variable defined in the method, both have the same name, then local will dominate the class. Local will dominate the class. That is the reason data from the local is not transferred to class. When there is a different name, EMP name, name, no conflict. When there is a EMP name, there is no conflict. All the examples what I have done till now, I have taken different names. Class variable I have taken one name, in the constructor I have taken another name. That is the reason there is no conflict. Conflict will come if I give same name. Like I told you, experience, age. There also experience, age. Conflict will come. Then when I use this will refer to object, and without this will refer to local. Right? Are you getting my point? What is the purpose of this keyword? When there is a conflict between local variable and a class variable, this keyword is used to refer to class. This keyword is used to refer to class variable. Are you clear about the context? Am I clear? When you take a same name for the class variable and the variables of the method, then local will dominate the class. You don't want the local to dominate, you want to refer to the class variable, then I have to use this dot variable. When will this context will come? When there is a conflict between local and class. When there is a conflict between local and class, then both of them have same name. If they don't have the same name, there is no issue. When they have the same name, then only problem will come. When the problem comes, we use this keyword to refer to class. Without this, refer to local. I hope you are good with this. Anyone has any query on this point?
Yes. Satish, actually, experience also.
Online, 1 minute. It's not an exception. Now see, local will dominate means local value will be set. Now look at this. Age is what? Null. We are not passing the data, that's all. Is it throwing an error? No. See boss, if you want to assign a value, forget about program, simple mathematics. Now tell me, how do you assign 10 to A? Right? That's what I'm also doing. No. I'm saying whatever that value is there in the RHS side will be assigned to LHS side. There's a simple fund of see, you already defined a variable in the method, right? I told what is the concept of local variable? Any variable defined in the scope is what? Local. As simple as that. Right? Yeah, online, go ahead. What is your query?
So Satish, so age and experience. So can you please go back to the example?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you look at that age and exp, right? Both are a part of the method and both are part of the class. So age should be null and exp also should be null, right?
But we are using this, no? I am not given exp equal to exp. I give this dot exp equal to exp. When I said this dot exp, this value is assigned to this dot exp is what? Class. Class exp. If I don't use this keyword, what is the value of exp? Null only. Why? Then exp is 3. Do you have any local variable called exp? Yes. So this 3 is assigned to this. So this value will be what? Null only. No, I don't want this value should be assigned to this. I want this value should be assigned to this. That is the reason I used a keyword called this. Let me execute it to get the context. So I am taking here this example. Let me take this example. Public. Now I was giving this so look at this string emp name integer now I am giving here name equal to emp name is equal to emph. Now let me know any conflict. No, right? Local variable have different names, global variable have different names. So emp is referring to local, name is referring to emp is referring to local, name is referring to global, right? So I don't have any issue. I don't have any issue with this. Am I right or no? I don't have any issue. So go to the class. How do you execute this? This example. Give Satish. So I gave EMPH, right? So some data I get. Now here, system.debug. Look at the point. First I will print the local variables. EMP name. Local variables can be used where? Where can I use the local variables? Only in the location where you define. Can I use that EMP name outside? Local variables can be used only within the scope where they are defined. Local variables. These are the local variables. What are they? EMP name, EMP age, EMP experience. Now, using object, can I call the local variables like this? EMP name. Can I call EMP name? Not accepted, right? Why? Any variable defined within the method can be used only within the method. But any variable defined in the class can be used outside the class also. So now I am giving here system.debug. The same story I will take it. Class variables. Where I was supposed to give name equal to te.name, age equal to te.age. Now te means object, experience equal to te.experience. Right, Amma? Now we have local variables, we have global variables. Local variables are there, global variables are there. Now local variable names are different, global variable names are different. Clearly I was able to tell these are the local, these are the global. So local variables are assigned to global values. Values of local variables are assigned to global variables. Then execute the program. When I execute the program, let us see what is the local variable, what is the global variables. So here we have local variables, EMP name Satish, whatever the name I passed, age, experience. Now EMP name is assigned to name, value of name, value of age, value of experience. So values of local variables are assigned to class variables. Whatever the values that local variables are holding, they are assigned to class variables. So name, age, experience. I hope you are good with this. First, what is this? When there is no conflict. When there is no conflict. Now I am giving a conflict. Now there is a conflict. Now there is a conflict. Now I gave name here local variable, class variable also name. Age I gave age. Okay, experience. Now there is a conflict. When there is a conflict, execute. If local variable and class variable have the same name, what is the value of name? Satish, age 34, experience. But class variables, name null, age null, experience null. Why? When you are using this code, whenever I say name, this is the name. Now when I say name, it looks in the local. Do you have any variable called name? Yes, I have. So this value is assigned to this again. So they are not going outside. They are not going outside. When always I check local first. If the variable is found in the local, I will not go to outside the class. Outside the method. Are you getting my point? Look in the method. If the method contains any variable, then I will not use outside. Are you clear about this? Then in this context, what I am doing? So I gave here EMP name. So EMP name is not having any conflict. Age, there is a conflict. Experience, there is a conflict. Then I told this dot age. Now I gave local variable, class variable with a different name. Local variable, class variable with a different name. Second one, I gave with the same name, age. But I told this dot age, age. This dot age will refer to class. Age will refer to local. Then experience I give. Experience, but I gave same name. I am not using any keyword called this. Then what will happen? Local will dominate. Local will dominate. Go back here. Let's see. What is the data we got here? There is no problem with the name. Why there is no problem with the name? Why there is no problem with the name? Because they are not conflict. We have two different names. Next we had age. We have a conflict, but I used a keyword called this. Experience, we had a conflict. Experience, we had a conflict. But I'm not using any keyword called this. So local data is not transferred to class data. I hope you got my point. Am I clear? So what is the use of taking the same name? What is the use of taking the same name? If I take the same name, I know what data I am passing. If I take the same name, I know what is the data I am passing. Okay. I hope you got the point clearly. So let me give you quick theoretical information. This is a keyword. Is a keyword. When we have local variables, class variables, same name. When you have local variables and the class variables with the same name, when you have local variables and the class variables with the same name, local variables will dominate. If you want to refer to the global variables, when there is a conflict between local and global, then we use a keyword called this. If you want to refer to the global variable, when there is a conflict between local and global, then we use the keyword called this. I hope you are good with this.
Hi Satish.
Yes, Amma.
Can we create public class variables dynamically? At the present, we don't know the
We cannot.
class variables.
We cannot.
So later,
We cannot.
Cannot.
We
Okay.
cannot. When you're writing a program, you should create it. You should know what you're writing. It's not system defined. You are writing the program. It's your logic. You should have a clarity about what you're writing. But if there is a, if you know that there is a variable, now let us see. He has one question here. This guy has a question. He was asking, at the time of creating a variable, you know, it is an integer, it is a string, it is a decimal. When you don't know what it is, can we create, okay, can we create it later? No, you are supposed to create at the time of creating. For the choice, what we have is, if I know integer, I was taking integer. If I know string, I was taking string. If I know decimal, I was taking decimal. When I am not sure what type of variable is this, then you create object. What is that object? It will accept any type of data. It will accept any type of data. When you are not sure what type of data you are going to get, take it as object. Okay, take it as object. But defining the variable is a must before we use it. Defining a variable is a must before we use it. So concept of this is clear for everyone. Am I clear with this? Right. Now,
Sati,
right on the topic. Yeah, go ahead.
why do we need to use the same name for the global and local variables? We can use different names.
Now, if you give the same name, I know what I am passing. The customer know what he is passing. Okay, name you have to pass, age we have to pass, experience. When I give the same name, I know what values I am passing, where you are storing. If you give a different names, I need to know what this name is referring to. If I give the same name, I know what values I am passing, where they are stored. If I give same names, I know what values we are passing, where they will be stored. As simple as that. Right.
Got it.
Right, Amma.
Hi, Satish.
Right. Let's discuss the exercises. Let us discuss the exercises.
So
Now-
Satish, one question.
I'll give an exercise. We'll discuss it.
Okay, sure.
Now, let us go back. Start creating this example, everyone. Create a Apex class. Employee with name, city, salary as data members. Create a constructor which will take create a method show which will print create a object new location. So everyone do this example. Yes, go ahead online. What is your query?
So Satish, just if you, I mean, like I think someone will be noting down this example, but previously, like you have mentioned Paint, right? MS Paint. So, which when the object is created, the memory allocates as null for the variables, right? So those variables are from public variables or
See,
within
now,
the constructor.
It has nothing to do with the public. They are variables of the class, irrespective of public or private or protected or whatever it is. They are variables of the class. Memory will be allocated for the data members. Your public, private, protected will tell whether they can be used outside or inside the class. That's what the access modifier will tell. Now, data members of the class or data members of the class remain the same irrespective of their access modifiers. Access modifiers only tell whether we can use, where we can use the variables, within the class or outside the class. It has nothing to do with local and non-local.
So suppose there are three data members in under the class, three data members under the constructor. So all those six data members will be having null in the
Yes,
memory.
you need to get a basic right. Any variable defined within the floor bracket are called local, right?
Yeah.
Right. Now, when you say you are defining the constructor, are they local to class or local to constructor?
Local to constructor.
Now, can we use outside? Can I use local variables outside?
No.
Right. So anything that you define within the constructor are the members of the class?
No.
They are members of constructor. They are not members of the class. Any variable I create within the class. Now this is the scope of a class. Any variable defined within the scope of the class is a local. Local to what? Class. Now these are the members of the class.
Yeah.
We define here, these are the members of the class. Now, anything that is defined within the constructor, they are not members of the class, they are members of the constructor.
Correct.
Right. So when you create an object, memory will be allocated to the members of the class, not for the members of the constructor. When you create an object, memory will be allocated for the members of the class. Anything that you define within the method is a local to method. No memory will be allocated for the methods. Only memory is allocated for the members of the class. They become members of the class if you define within the class. They become the members of the constructor if you define within the constructor. Got it, Amma?
Correct. Correct. Thank you. Yeah. Got it.
Satish, in the functions, if we use public, and so it will be like local to class, local to the function only, or
I repeat the points again and again. Public, private, protected has nothing to do with the local or non-local. It only says whether I can use outside the class or not. That's all. It has nothing to do with the local or non-local. Public, private, protected. They have nothing to do with local and non-local. They have nothing to do with this. They will tell whether we can use them in the class, whether we can use them outside the class. Inside the, okay, you can use them in the class or outside the class using object. This is the concept of access modifier. You people are merging this with a local, non-local. They have nothing to do with this. They will tell where we can use it. Local, non-local tell the scope of the variable. Now local and non-local both belongs to class only. Now can I use this within the class? Can I use it within the method? Okay, let me clarify this. So look at the point, boss. Let me clarify one point here. Everyone look at this. Now tell me, are they members of the class or not? Name, age, marks are members of the class. Are they members of the class? No, because I gave public, they are not members. Because I gave private, they are not members. Now your access modifier has nothing to do with local or non-local. Right? Now let us say, now while defining any variable in the method, did I define public like this? Did you define anything like this? I am not defined. I am straight away defining. Why? Why was that so? Because variables, if you define a variable within a floor bracket, they are called local. If you define above the floor bracket, they are called global. It has nothing to do with access modifier. Now tell me, these are the members of the class or members of the method? They are members of the class or members of the method? Members of the method. Anytime did you call the members of the method outside the class? No, right? Why? Why? Because they are defined within the floor bracket. They can be used only within that floor bracket. Now here also, can I call this age directly? Can I call the age directly? No, we cannot call the age directly. If you want to call, what we are doing, creating a object. Because any member of the class cannot be called outside directly. We are creating an object and we are calling it. Anything that is defined within a floor bracket, that can be called only within that, cannot be called outside. That's what is called. That is what is called. Okay, we are calling this one. If you want to call e dot age. Now the question is, can I call outside the class or not? Now, again I'll repeat the point. Listen carefully. I have age. Now the question is, anything that I define in the class, anything I define in the class here, public void show. Now this is not public. I gave just void show. Now tell me, local global means what? For this method, what are local? A value, B value. What are global? Age, name. Now because I gave marks as a private, it is not local. Nothing like that, right? Now within the class, anywhere I can use. Within the class, anywhere I can use. Concept of local and global will come while using in the class. Concept of public, protected, private will come while you are trying to use outside the class. Local, global will come. The local and global will come while you are trying to use within the class. While you are trying to call them outside the class, I will ask you, are they public or private? So the question is, are we using within the class? And nothing to do with so it is not going to impact local and global. Local means defined within the floor bracket. Global means defined above the floor bracket. As simple as that. It has nothing to do with your keywords. Public, protected, private. Nothing to do with this. Now, when I am trying to use outside the class, then I will ask, is it a private? Which variables will be used outside the class? Now, only global variables can be used. I cannot call a value. Outside the class, can I call a value? Outside the class, can I call the b value? You cannot. Outside the class, you will be using only members of the class. Only members of the class will be calling outside. When you are calling the members of the class, can I use that member outside or not? Is given by access modifier. Again, I repeat one more time. This is the class. Can I call E dot name? Can I call E dot city? Can I call them E dot name, E dot city? Why? You cannot access members of the method outside the class. You cannot access members of the method outside the class. Why? Every variable in the method is local to that method. You cannot call them with the object. You cannot call them with the object. So there is no question about members of the method outside the class. Which one you are going to access outside the class? E dot a value, E dot b value, E dot c value. Now the question is, can I call a value outside the class? Yes, because it's public. Can I call b value outside the class? No, it is private. Can I call c value? Okay, c value outside the class? No. But e dot name, error. E dot city, they are unrecognized variables. You cannot call variables of the method using object. Using object, what you can call? Only variables of the class. So don't mix up concept and make a khichdi. There are two different independent concepts. Variables of the class only called using object. Variables of the class only called using object. Variables of the method cannot be called using object. As simple as that. If the thumb rule is clear for everyone. Right, Amma? Right. Now, where is the question of global and local? Question of global and local is while you are using within the class, not while using outside. Outside you cannot use local variables. Only the variables of the class only you can use. Concept of local and non-local will come in the method. While you are running the logic, while you are calling the method, while you are running the logic of the method, while the logic of the method is getting executed, then the question of is that variable is a local or a global. Are you clear? While running the method of a, while you are running a logic of a method, there the question of local or global. If you are trying to call outside the class, only class variables can be called. There is no question about method variables. Right. So outside when you are calling, it's only variables of class. While running the logic in the method, we had a conflict. Okay. Why? Variable in the method, variable in the class may be overridden. So there the concept of local and global. Local and global will come only for method concept. For this method, is the variable is a local or a global. While you are calling outside the class, only the variables of class will be used. Variables of method cannot be used. I hope you are good with this. Clear for everyone? Everyone is good with this? Clear? Now tell me what is the, out of this, tell me what is right and what is wrong. Okay. Now tell me, these 4 statements are correct or wrong? Can I define them like that? One variable global, one the public, protected, private. Right? Can I define them? Are you sure? Right. Now, next. Is it right? Is it right? Right. So when you are using within the class, there is no concept of access modifier. Concept is not used in the class. They will be used only outside. In the class, if you define a variable as a private or a protected or a global, doesn't make a difference. Why? We are using only within the class. Any variable defined above me is a global. I can use it. The concept of access modifier will come only when I am trying to access the variable outside the class. Now the method is defined within the class, right? Now, can I use A equal to 10? Can I use B equal to 20? C equal to 30? Why? We are using only within the class. We are using within the class. The variables of the class can be used anywhere within the class. That may be a global or a public or a private. Doesn't make a difference. Is it accepted? Public. Any variable of the class can be used. It is a private. Okay, protected. Mother is a protected. Can I use? No problem. They are the variables of the class. Any variable of the class can be used anywhere in the class. It is a private method. Any issue? No issue. Now look at this. Now the question is, example. Now I am giving E dot A value, E dot B value, E dot C value, E dot D value. Now tell me which is accepted in this? A dot A value, yes. B value, yes. C value, outside the class they cannot be accepted. D value, right? So can I call the variable outside or not is the question. Inside the class, everywhere I can use. Okay. Now you told E dot call me. Can I call a global method using object? Yes. E dot show. Can I call it? Anything which is a public or a global can be called outside. E dot invoke is a protected member. If it is a protected, I cannot call with the object. It is a private member. E dot. Are you getting my point? So any member of the class, let it be a method or a variable, can I call within the class? Okay, can I call within the class? We can call anywhere within the class. Can I call outside the class? No, boss. Only global and public member. Now whether these variables can be called outside or not is the question. Access modifiers are going to tell whether I can use them outside the class. Okay. Now look at the point. It is a private, right? Can I call the private here? Can I call the method? Yes. Within the class, anywhere you can call. Any variable or a method can be used anywhere within the class. Now can I call invoke? Why? They are defined within the class. The logic I am writing within the class only. Right? You can call any member of the class within the class. We can call any member of the class within the class irrespective of their access modifier. I hope you got my point. We can call any member of the class within the class irrespective of their access modifier. Even though global or a public or protected or private, we can call anywhere within the class. Now, why the concept of access modifier? Access modifier concept is to tell whether we can call them outside or not. That is to tell where else we can call other than class. Okay, apart from within the class, where else we can call is given by access modifier. Access modifier will tell apart from this class, where else we can use this variable, where else we can use this method is given by access modifier. Within the class, anywhere we can use, no restriction. Where else we can use outside the class, is given by access modifier. So don't merge both of them. Local and global concept will come only within the class, not outside the class. Local and global concept will come only within the class. I hope you are good with this. People are good? Clear? Okay. Now let us see this. When I say name, can I call it here? E dot name. Can I call E dot name? Why? Why? Now it is a variable of method. Variables defined in the method will be used only with the method. I cannot call with the object. Which one I can call? Only variables of class methods. I cannot call E dot name. The name should be used only within the method. Can I call E dot place? This is not the variable of a class. That is a variable of a method. That variable can be used only within the method. I hope you got my point. Clear? Any further clarifications on this?
So Satish, you give the dval as integer, right? So if you don't give anything, does it take as a public?
See, if I
The
don't,
fourth way.
if you don't define anything, it's a private.
Private, okay.
If I don't define anything, it's a private. Right? Is that was clear for everyone? So it has any impact on this keyword and access modifier? There is nothing to do with this keyword and access modifier. Both are two different concepts. This keyword is when you are using within the class. If there is a conflict, how to resolve is the question. That is this concept. Access modifier is if you are, whether I can call these things outside or not is the question. Then I go with access modifier. So there is no connection between this concept and access modifier. Both are two independent. One is within the class, other one is outside the class. I hope you are good. Still any other queries? Am I clear with this? Right, boss? Sure. No more queries, right? People are good with this. Pakka. Right. Chalo.
Yes.
Let us get back to next concept. We have quickly seen about a concept of class here. Now in the class what we have done, creation of variables, creation of methods, defining the access modifiers. Okay. Then we have seen about constructor creation, how to pass the parameter, in case if there is any conflict, how to use this keyword and how to create an object. Till here, anybody has any query? Everyone is comfortable in creation of classes, constructor, creation of methods, right? Okay. Now let us get into the next concept. Our next concept is static keyword. What is the next concept we have? Static keyword. What is the purpose of static and how we are going to use it? What is a static keyword? How we are going to use it? Right. Once again, everyone is comfortable with this topic, right? Clear for everyone.
Okay.
Now, come back to the static concept. Now, let me give you generalized explanation. Now, I have a look at the point. There are three people. There are two different people. Now, in the class they had a name, age, qualification. Name, age. Now, everybody has their own independent name, age, qualification. There is no conflict. There is no conflict. Everybody has their own name, age, qualification. Now, both of these people decide to open one common account. They want to open a common account where they want to save their money. Both of them want to open a common account where they want to save the money. Now, when they want to open a common account, then what happened? Account number will be same, password will be same, balance will be same for both of them. Now, they have their own name, their own age, their own qualification. See, okay, he has his own name, age, qualification. But both of these people decided to open one common account. Both of them have decided to open one common account. When they open a common account, this should be accessible to, okay, accessible to her and should be accessible to this fellow. Both of them should be able to access. So there should be a common variable for both of them. Now what was this? Account number. When they want to open a common account, they had account number, password. Balance. Now will I create separate account number, password, balance? They are not maintaining their own independent accounts. They want to maintain a joint account. When they want to open a joint account, then both of them should have same account number, password, balance. So these three variables should be common for both of them. These three variables should be separate for both of them. So wife should have her own name, age, qualification, husband name, age, qualification, but both of them want to have common account name, password, balance. Now let us say they had some account number, they opened some ICICI account, ABC, balance they had some 1 lakh. Now this is visible to wife, visible to husband. Now immediately this fellow deposited 5 lakh rupees. Common account, he deposited. So what happened? Balance is increased to 60. Now, when wife open the account, what is the balance you can see? 6 lakh. Modified value will be finding. When this fellow open, what is the balance he find? 6 lakh rupees. Now, when you open, latest value will be shown to you. So immediately she withdraw 5 lakh rupees. It's a common account, right? Common account is only deposits. Right. Now what happened? Immediately she withdraw 5 lakh rupees. Now this fellow opened. What is the balance? 1 lakh. Now when you open, the latest amount will be shown. It's a common data for both of you. And whatever the changes I made will be reflected to both of you. Immediately this fellow got a salary, deposited again another 5 lakhs. Then balance is gone to 6. Then again Amazon people kept one new offer. Then what happened? The balance has gone to 0 rupees. Now what is this? If you want to maintain a common data between these two, how will you maintain? So here this wife is one object, husband is one object. Both of them are dealing with a class. Both of them are a class. For the class I created an object called wife. For a class I created an object called husband. Now what was that? Public class, okay, my data. When I created the class like this, and I told public string name, then I told public string account number, public string password. This is how I create. When I create a class like this, when I create an object called wife, what will happen? She will get separate name, age, qualification, account number, password, and balance. Now, when I create an object called husband, again he is going to get separate. But I don't want to separate data like this. When I create an object for the class, separate. So what is our intention? This data should be common, right? This data should be common. So if you want to create any common data, then what you are supposed to do? Use a keyword called static. When I use a keyword called static, then the data become common for every object. Every object we create for the class, the data become common data. Are you getting my point? Then memory will be allocated for what? name, age, qualification. Again, when I create a husband, name, age, qualification. But this data will be allocated only once. This will be created only once. Now, this fellow can use, she can use. Both of them can use the same data. They can come to the same common location, use the data. I hope you got my point. So, if you want some data to be common for every object, if you want the same data to be available for every object, then we define the data as static variable. Then we define the data as static variable. Let us take one example. I have a let us say in orbit mall. There is a movie counter number 1. Now, right now what happened? For screen 1, I have a movie screen 1. Let's say 200 tickets are available. But booking is done through what? Number of counters. Now, everybody will get 200, 200, 200. No, right? All okay. The total number of tickets are 200. If this fellow book 2 tickets, counter 1. If they book 2 tickets, then available tickets are 198. Let any other person open from any other counter, the value should be what? 198, 198. This fellow booked 10 tickets, then available tickets is 188. 188 for whom? For everyone. Let it be a counter 1 or counter 2 or counter 3. Number of tickets available are 188. Are you getting? So this is a common data. Let anybody can change it. Once you make a change, this will be reflected for everyone. So if you want to create a common data for every object, then the data should be defined as static. I hope you got my point. When you want to create a common data, for every object, then the data should be defined as static. I hope you got my point. Clear for everyone? So, if it is a static, memory will be allocated how many times? Only once. For static variables, memory will be allocated only once. For non-static variables, memory will be allocated number of times based on number of objects. So, let me define one more time here. Look at the context. I hope you got the concept. Is the theme is clear for everyone? Am I clear? I'm giving a couple of variables here. Now I got a class like this. Now I was creating a program. Example even. How many objects I created? Now, this program I wrote like this, and I told execute. I told click on execute. When I click on execute, what happened? First they will see which classes are used in this program. Example 1. In the example 1 class, do you have any static variables? Yes. There are 2 static variables. So allocate the memory for static variables. On whose name? Example. Then I going to allocate a value. Memory is allocated. Then after allocating this, then the line number 1 will be executed. When is that line number 1 executed? After allocating the memory for static variables. First the memory is allocated for static variables, then the program execution will start. Then line number 1 is executing. New means what? Memory should be allocated. New means memory should be allocated. For whom the memory should be allocated? Data members of the class. Now for static already memory is allocated. Memory is allocated only for and this memory is referred as E1. Then again line number 2. Line number 2 what it does? Again allocate a memory. For whom it is going to allocate? Already static members memory is allocated. For static members memory is already allocated. Only for again line number 3 memory is allocated. Right. So memory is allocated for the C value how many times? 3 times because I created 3 objects. D 3 times because the memory is allocated 3 times because it is a non-static variable. For A value, B value, how many times the memory is allocated? Only once. Memory is allocated only once. Why? It is a static variable. When it is a static variable, this is common for E1 dot, E1 can access A value, E1 A value, E1 B value, E2 A value, E2 B value. Right? If they require A value, B value, they'll come to static and access. But E1 C value is different, E2 C value is different, E3 C value is different. E1 has its own C value, E2 has its own C value, E3 has its own C value. But A value is same for E1, E2, E3. Are you getting my point? Is that was clear? Am I clear? If you want some data to be common for every object, that variable should be defined with a keyword called static. If you want some data to be common for every variable, then that variable should be defined as static. For static, how many times the memory is allocated? Only once. For non-static, memory will be allocated depends upon number of objects. Depends upon number of objects. I hope you are good with this. I hope you are good with this. Right. I hope you are good with this.
Satish, suppose if you use global also, then it will be the same thing, right? Only one.
Again, I told you. Global, public, and private product has nothing to do with a variable declaration. Don't merge the topic. Now, global, see, is the global is going to say local variable or non-local variable? I told, if you want to use the variable outside the class, again, I'm making very clear, boss. Don't merge the concept of access modifier with the variables. Now, access modifier only tells you, can I use this variable outside the class or not? That's all. That's all. It has nothing to do with the local, non-local, static, non-static. I hope you are getting my point here. What is the purpose of access modifier? What is the purpose of access modifier? The variable. Which variable? Okay. Or which variable? The variable may be static variable, non-static variable, final variable, non-final variable. Doesn't matter. Any variable defined in the class, can I use outside the class or not, is given by access modifier. The variable which is defined in the class can be a static variable, can be a non-static variable, can be a final variable, can be a non-final variable. It can be anything. Variable is a variable. Okay. Can I use it outside the class or not is the only topic for access modifier. Don't merge access modifier with every topic. It has nothing to do with any topic. Only the concept of access modifier is, can I use this variable outside or not? Can I use this method outside the class or not? That's all. At every point, don't ask me whether global, public. It has nothing to do. I'm saying the same statement from the beginning of the class. It has nothing to do with variable. Only the concept of access modifier is whether I can call this variable outside the class or not is the question. Right. Now, did I discuss anything like outside the class or inside the class? right? We are only discussing about what? We are discussing what? How many times the memory is allocated. Now, if I want to call E1 dot, if I say E1 dot C value, then it should be what? Public or global. If I say E1 dot D value, public or global. E1 dot A value, public or global. E1 dot B value, public or global. When I try to call the variable with a class, then we have to discuss whether it's a public or a global. Now, every variable defined in the class will not be called outside the class. Right? This unwanted confusion, unwanted complexity. Right? As simple.
So,
Let's not discuss this. Discuss at the end, boss. You made a lot of confusion already. Made it. Let's discuss at the end of the session. Okay. Right. Now let me make it very clear. I'm making the point very clear one more time. Access modifier has nothing to do with local, non-local concept. Access modifier has nothing to do with static, non-static. Access modifier has nothing to do with final, not final. Purpose of access modifier is, can I call this member? It's not only variable, method also. Can I call this method outside the class? Can I call this variable outside the, right? Right, boss? Okay, let's not merge it, because people who follow the regular concept also, now they lose it. Right.
so Satish, actually,
Let's discuss
actually,
at the end. Let's discuss at the end. I made it very
no,
clear.
no, I'm not talking about that, Satish. So static, right? So, I mean, since it saves the lot of memory, so can we use the static for every public, private,
Now,
and
see, now again you are merging public, private, protected. Please do not merge this topic. Okay, I made 1,000 times clear, but you are again putting the same question. I'll discuss.
no, here.
Let me discuss
No,
at the end
I'm
of the session. I'm very clear. Let me discuss at the end of the session. Right. Let me finish the static first. Right. Come back here. I will discuss your point at the end of the session. Now, if you bring it now, the people who are following static, they'll be losing it. I'll discuss your point at the end of the session. Please do not ask now. Right. What is the purpose of the static? First, let me finish the static. What is the purpose of the static? If you define any variable as a static, memory will be allocated only once. Right. Memory will be allocated only once. If you define any variable as a static, memory will be allocated only once. Non-static, memory will be allocated number of times. Okay. Is that point was clear? People are good with the static? No more confusion on this? Right? Sure? Okay. Now, Paka, I'll go with this guy's question. Everybody got this concept? Okay. Now go ahead, boss. I'll clear your query now. Now, let me put it. Go ahead with your question. Some online guy. Someone from online. Go ahead.
Yeah, so what I was asking is like, so now we are using public, I mean, like some of them we are using static because the commonly use the data members, right? So some of them we don't use. So is this the, I mean, like right way to use the static for every public, I mean, like before the example, right? A value, B value.
I think you didn't get my previous example. I'll repeat my previous example one more time. When I take public class, now, if anybody still have a question about this previous example, you can stay back and listen. Public integer. Tomorrow class will be at 7 o'clock, boss. CRM topic will repeat. Tomorrow CRM topic I'm going to continue. Okay. This is the point. Now the question is, allocating the memory has nothing to do with the access modifier, boss. I told very clearly, when I'm creating an object, memory will be allocated to the data members. Now, when I told memory will be allocated to the data members, memory is allocated to age, marks, A value, B value. Now, when I told when you create an object, memory is allocated for the data members. Now, why are you bringing this topic now when allocating the memory? There's nothing to do with this access modifier. No. What is my point? When you create an object, memory will be allocated to the data members. Did I use only for a global member, memory will be allocated? For a public member, memory will be allocated. Did I give any such statement, boss? I told memory will be allocated to the data members. So what is happening? Now, age is a data member, marks is a data member, A value is a data member, B value is a data member. The memory is allocated. Right. Is that point was clear for you first? Somebody? right? Who is
So,
this guy?
that's clear. Actually, this is asked by two different people. I think.
Okay,
I mean,
okay, fine, okay. Now, someone who has asked me, please come back, boss. Is that was clear for you? Somebody? See, the point is, if you bring in the random topic, the guys, the in between the topic, if you bring the random topic, the people who are following the topic, they'll be losing the concentration. That is the reason I asked you to ask at the end of the session.
yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody, yeah.
So the next question, Satish.
Yeah, go ahead.
So suppose public. Can you make that static integer marks?
Right. Now,
Yeah. My question is this correct way to write? Like.
see, I told access modifier has nothing to do with the variable definition.
Even though the memory is allocated for the static, we can't access if it is. Yeah, I'm trying to explain other way.
1 minute, let me make it. This is the class boss. So there are global variables, non-global variables. Now, when you create example E, now memory is allocated for static variables separately. This is the memory allocated for, then memory for non-static variables, which is referred with, then here we have x value. This is the way we have treated. Now, memory will be allocated when you create an object for static and non-static. It has nothing to do with whether they are global or public or protected or static or not static. The memory will be allocated. It has nothing to do with access modifier. Now the question is, once the memory is allocated, can I call it? This is the question. Your access modifiers will tell whether these are possible or not. Now, access modifier is going to tell whether they are possible or not. Allocating the memory has nothing to do with the global or public or private or anything. Now, when you say E dot A value, what is A value? It is a global. E dot A value, global. Access is yes. E dot B value, public. Can I call it yes? C value, not access. D value, not access. The next, yes. Y value, yes. Z value, no. M value, no. Now, irrespective of whether they are static or non-static, can I call them outside or not is given by access modifier. Access modifier will tell you whether we can call this variable outside the class or not. That is only the purpose of defining the access modifier. The access modifier will not involve in any other functionality. Is that was clear, Amma?
Yeah, that's clear, Satish. My question is different, but
yeah,
if you want to continue.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So now, if you look at the global static integer a val and global integer x val, right? So if I make everything static, so is that the right way to do the programming, or we have to plan a common variable?
Now look at the point. This is a common data. Now you're taking a student. I want to take a name, age, city. Now every student will have same name. If you take every data as a static, I have two students here. Now name, age, we give name, age, branch. Now everybody will not have the same name, right? Now let us say if I have taken as a static, now I kept Satish, then somebody modified as Kiran. Now what is the name they have? Kiran. What is the name of student 1? Kiran. What is the name of student 2? Kiran. Will they have the same names? Will they have the same age? No, right? So
No.
there will be a data, not every data is common for everyone. Now not every data is common. Wherever the data is common, I will take them as static. Wherever the data is going to be different, I will take it as non-static. What my point? So in every class, all the data will not be static. Why? Because every class have their own independent data. Every object has their own independent data. Every object will not have the same data. Wherever the data is different, I was supposed to take them as non-static only. If you define them as a static, the data becomes same for everyone. Did you get my point? Let us say application form I have taken. Now if I take a static, every application form will have same data now. Every application will not have same data, right? My application should contain my data. Your application should contain your data. But let us say the details like bank name, IFSC code, branch name. This data should be common for every application. So I will take this data as static. But your applicant name, last name, age, date of birth, PAN card, that will not be same for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Okay. There I was going to take non-static, right? So the data which remains common, there I'll go for static. The data which remains not common, there I'll go with non-static. So when you take any application, we need to analyze, is this data is going to be common for everyone? Then only I will define as a static. By every variable I cannot define as a static. Got my point? We need to analyze it, understand whether it's a common data or not, then we have to go for static or non-static. Right, Amma?
Yeah, got it, Satish. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Satish.
Yeah. One minute, Amma. 1 minute, Amma. Please, online people, please do not interrupt the regular discussion going on in the class. People need to understand when you're going for a particular topic, people will be following the topic in order. If you jumble the topic in between, the people who are following in a sequence will be losing you. So let us, anything that you want to make a combination, let's discuss at the end so that the people will get the concept right. Later on, once the people get the concept right, if you analyze it, it will be good. In between the topic, if you people start analyzing the topic, then the rest of the people will confuse with my explanation. Now, when I'm going with the topic, people will be following in a particular order. The particular topic, they are coming to a sequence. If you break the topic in between, take me to out of the box, then people who are following this topic, they'll be losing it. And the interest also will be lost. Please ask your question at the end of the topic or when I'm giving the exercise. I'm making this statement repeatedly, but people are every time interrupting me. Please do ask your question at the end of the topic or when you're doing the exercise. Please try to understand it's a class of 200 people. Randomly, if you are taking the questions, people will be confused. People topic has to go in a sequence order. Please ask your analysis or analyzations at the end of the topic so that it will be benefit to the other people. In between the topics we asked, people will be confused. It leads to unwanted discussion and topic will be like people will be confused with the topic. Please do ask your question at the end of the topic. I've been repeatedly saying the same statement. Ask me at the end of the session or end of the topic or when I give the exercise. When you do the exercise, the rest of the people will be doing the exercise. I can clarify your query. In between the topic, please do not bring the out of the box discussions. Right? Yeah. Yes. Somebody else is going. Go ahead, boss. Somebody else is asking a question. Yeah. Go ahead, Prashant.
Yes, Satish. Today you discussed about this and static. For this, we have only seen like one example or mostly nothing. So can you give some use cases or
All the
just to get a
examples
better-
what I have taken earlier in the creation of class, define them with a keyword called this. As simple as that. Now already we have done a couple of examples, right? In all that example
yes.
classes, you take this keyword and redo it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Static, we are not.
Hey Satish,
Static is not yet completed. Static will do it in the next session. Static, we are not done with the static.
hey Satish,
Yes, Amma, go ahead.
do we class tomorrow? Do we
Yes,
have a
Amma,
class
we have
tomorrow?
class at 7 o'clock. We have CR. 7:15 I'll be starting.
No. This is a regular class.
CR tomorrow I have CR. The pending topic on the
At
CR. 7:15 I'll be starting.
7:15. Okay.
Not the development class, right?
No, not development. Yes, admin done.
Okay, development will resume from Monday.
Yeah.
No, thanks.
Satish, I have one question.
Go ahead, Amma.
So Satish,